Teresa, Mustard Seed Sewing, and we are back in the kitchen again for this Farmhouse Friday. And today we're going to make English muffins together. Now, if any of you follow me on Facebook, you will know that I made English muffins for the first time a few weeks ago, and they were a big hit. Chris really liked them. And so I thought I would go ahead and make them again. The recipe makes 10, and we can't eat 10 at a time, but I can put them in the freezer, and then we'll have them to be able to pull out whenever we would like English muffins. It's a very easy recipe. I do use my bread machine, and I will talk about that here in just a minute. Very simple ingredients: flour, sugar, salt, yeast, vegetable oil, and water. And then a little bit of cornmeal when you go to actually cook them. So let's go ahead and get started. This is my bread machine pan. Pretty standard looking bread machine pan. And you see it has that little piece on the bottom. That is where the kneading attachment sits. And one thing about this bread machine, which is new to me, is a Christmas present, is the kneading attachment folds up and down. And what happens, especially when you're baking, is this flap here falls down during the baking cycle, and so you don't have that great big hole in your loaf of bread. That's really nice. So we'll just go ahead and put that in here. I'll confess, I'll be honest, there's been a couple of times where I have forgot to put this little kneading tool in there. One time I totally forgot until the bread was done, and I went to go pull it out, and I just had this glob in there, and I'm like, what happened? And I realized that I forgot to put it in. And another time I had just started the bread machine and realized I hadn't. So I had to quick and dig a little hole through all the flour and liquid and get that little paddle in there, and it turned out just fine. So that's all set in there today. I will put the recipe for these English muffins in the comments below. Please know this is not my own original recipe. I got this from Living Traditions Homestead, which is a YouTube channel that I have followed for a number of years now. And it's a very simple, basic recipe. They are lovely people on Living Traditions Homestead. Karen and Seven are Christians, and they strive to live their life in a simpler way. I've learned so much from them. Almost everything I know about raising rabbits has come from their YouTube channel. And then, like these English muffins, this recipe has come from there as well. I've tweaked the recipe from there just a tiny little bit, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. So the first ingredient that we need is water, and it's supposed to be warm water. And so I've already warmed this 1 1/4 cups of water up in my microwave. So I'm just going to pour that into my pan there. That's really easy to do. Then I need, so my bread machine, the instructions indicate that all of the wet ingredients should go into the pan first. So whether I'm using water or milk or some type of oil, I put the wet ingredients into the pan first. The next ingredient that I need is oil. And the original recipe called for sunflower oil. And I'm not a big fan of the flavor of sunflower oil. I did use it the first time, and it was okay, but I'm going to try olive oil this time and see how that affects the taste. And I need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And I buy my olive oil at Costco. This is Kirkland's Organic Extra Virgin Olive Oil. I've been very happy with this olive oil through the years. So there's my olive oil. So those are my wet ingredients. Now, for the dry ingredients, I need 1 tablespoon of sugar. And here's my sugar. And this is actually a teaspoon measure, so I'll be putting 3 of these in here. And I'm just going to sprinkle 1, 2, 3. There's my sugar. And the next ingredient is salt, and I need 1 teaspoon of salt. And I use pink Himalayan salt. It's just full of lots of different nutrients that we don't get from traditional store-bought salt. I'm sorry for that extra noise there. And then I need flour, and this is the other part where I tweaked the recipe. I told you about the different oil. The original recipe called for 2 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, and I was keeping an eye on this dough as it was mixing up in the bread machine last time, and I noticed after a few minutes, I have to count, there's one, after a few minutes of the dough mixing in the bread machine last time, it was really wet too, and so I added a couple more tablespoons of flour to the bread machine, and I'm going to do that again this time. That really helped. 3, 4, so that's 2 cups. 2.5 cups. There's my flour. All right, so I have my water, I have my sugar, I have my oil, I have my flour, I have my salt, and the last thing I need is my yeast. And where'd you go, yeast? I didn't get it out of the refrigerator. Be right back. I keep my yeast in the refrigerator. Helps it to stay fresh longer. And I need 1 teaspoon of yeast. There we go. Okay, so now this is ready to go in the bread pan. I will meet you over there. This is my bread machine, like I said. Chris gifted this to me at Christmas time. It's a Breville, and it has lots of really cool features you can see here on the digital display. You can make basic bread, whole wheat, gluten-free. You can tell it what kind of crust you want, light or dark. You can make sweetbreads. I can make banana bread in here. You can make pizza dough, and you can even make jam. I've never done that in a bread machine, but give it a try sometime. So here's what the inside looks like, and I've put my bread pan in there. So you can see it's all set down in there, ready to go. And so I'm going to close the lid now and program this. And it's as simple as turning this dial and telling the machine that I want to make dough. And it shows me that it takes 1.5 hours to do that. And press start. And you can hear it. It is doing its mixing thing. In fact, I can show you what that mixing looks like. See what it's doing in there. Now it's starting to incorporate all of those ingredients. Well, we're back, and the English muffin dough is all ready. See what that bread machine has done, how it's made that beautiful dough. And it smells wonderful. I love the smell of fresh bread, fresh dough made with yeast. So I have my pastry sheet out here on the counter. Just give it a little bit of flour and turn this dough out of the bread pan onto the pastry sheet. Dough paddle comes right out, easy peasy. All right, so the recipe then says the next step is to just gently knead this dough, and at the same time that you're kneading it, to shape it into a log. And just so you know, English muffin dough is a stickier, wetter dough than traditional bread dough. So give it a little bit of kneading and shape it into a log. Gotta pull it out a little bit. And then we're going to cut this into 10 pieces as evenly as possible. But you know what, before I do that, I've got a piece of parchment paper sitting right here, and I'm going to put a little bit of cornmeal on the parchment paper so that as I'm shaping these English muffins, they'll have a place to rest and won't stick. A little bit more. There we go. Okay, so cut my log in half. And then I'm going to cut 5 pieces off of this log. Off of this half of the log. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this side. So I'll have a total of 10 English muffins, and I'll tell you, I figured up cost off video, and at the local grocery store, I have one really small one here, so I'm going to take a little bit of dough off of one of these that are a little bit bigger and add it to the other. At the local grocery store, 6 English muffins. And I'm just rolling it into a dough, and I'm going to flatten it just a little bit. And then put it over here on my parchment paper with the cornmeal on it. Okay, so the grocery store, 6 muffins, $3.99. I'm making 10 muffins. It's costing me 60 cents. That's a significant savings, friends. There's my 10 English muffins sitting on a piece of parchment paper with cornmeal. And now they need to rest for 20 minutes. And during the last 10 minutes of those 20 minutes, I will put some olive oil in my skillet over here. The oil is supposed to be good and hot before you put the muffins in there. And when we come back, we will be cooking up these muffins. Okay, it's been 20 minutes. The muffins have been resting here on the counter. I put some oil in my skillet about 10 minutes ago, so it's had a chance to warm up. It's good and warm in there. There's not a lot of oil, enough that the bottom is coated nicely. And so the next step then is to cook these English muffins. So I'm going to uncover them and give you a gander at them. They really haven't changed much in appearance. They just had a chance to rest. I see a couple little air bubbles on some of them, so that will help with their wonderful deliciousness. So let's get some of these in the skillet and see how they cook up. So here comes number 1. Let's see if I can do 5 and 5. 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. There they are. Those little flat pieces of dough ball. I'm going to set my timer for 8 minutes. It's been 8 minutes. Here's what the muffins look like after that time, and I'm going to flip them. Oh, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? They have puffed up so nicely. Oh, yum, yum. I can't wait to try these. There we go. One more. Got a little brown. A bit browner than the other ones. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes and let these finish cooking on the other side. I do have my oven, my stove on low heat, on the lowest setting that it has. And so we'll let those finish cooking and we'll be back. Okay, I'm back, and I only let these go another 4 minutes because they were getting so brown. I didn't want them to get burned. Look at that. Look at that deliciousness. Isn't that beautiful? Got some cooling racks over here that I'm going to set them on so they can cool, and then we'll cut one open here after I get the second batch going. beautiful? See if we can show you the other side. Looks just like store-bought English muffins. Fantastic. There you go. These lighter colored ones over here, these are the second batch where I used the burner that was smaller than the first batch. And then these are the first batch, so they're a little bit browner. Let's check them out. All right, let's see what these look like. And you know the traditional way to cut English muffins is to use a fork and to go around all the edges, and you do that so that you preserve all those little nooks and crannies in there that just are perfect for holding jam or jelly or apple butter or just butter. All right, are you ready? Moment of truth here. Here we go. Oh, look at that. Look at all of those nooks and crannies. Isn't that just absolutely beautiful? Oh, I'm so pleased. So pleased. Well, my favorite way to enjoy English muffins is just with butter. I'm not a jam or jelly person. I make it for friends and to sell, but I really don't care to eat it. So let's put a little bit of butter on here and give this a try. Tastes like an English muffin. And it cost me 60 cents to make 10 instead of $3.99 from the store for 6. No brainer. So when are you going to try to make English muffins? A little bit of time. This probably took me, the bread machine was an hour and a half, and then this probably took about 40 minutes so to do all of the cooking, so 2.5 hours. And not all of that is hands-on, so definitely worth the time for me. Thanks for coming along with me, friends. I really enjoy doing this. And just as always, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, mountains can be moved. Thank you, friends, and God bless.